The writer for the Brooklyn Daily Eagle learned that his brother had been wounded at the Battle of Fredericksburg by reading about it in the newspaper. When he heard the news, he immediately left Brooklyn, hopped on a train and eventually a steamship, and came to Stafford County, came looking for his brother. Well, the good news was when he got here that his brother was fine, only slightly wounded, just a scratch on his face. Finding that his brother was only slightly wounded, Whitman decided to do what he could to help those who were more seriously wounded. And so he came to Chatham. He came here on December 19th, days after the battle. In fact, after many of the wounded had already been treated here. But he found the scene that just overawed him. He'd never seen anything like it, and realized then that most people who lived in the North, far away from the war, really had no idea of what war really was. Now, he would go on to write a number of tremendous passages about his time at Chatham. And he would also write about how the time here transformed him. Some of the things that he saw. He wrote, "The house is quite crowded. Everything impromptu, no system, all bad enough. But I have no doubt that it's the best that can be done. All the wounds pretty bad, some frightful. The men in their old clothes, unclean and bloody. Some of the wounded are rebel officers, prisoners." He also described the scene outside Chatham. He said, "I began my visits to the camp hospitals today in the Army of the Potomac. I spent a good part of the day at a large brick mansion," that's Chatham of course, "on the banks of the Rappahannock. Seems to have received only the worst cases. Outdoors at the foot of a tree," and the tree that he's probably writing about is this one, or one of these two great catalpas that were here during the battle. "Out of doors at the foot of the tree, within 10 yards of the house, I notice a heap of amputated feet, legs, arms, and hands. A full load for a one-horse cart. Several dead bodies lie near, each covered with its own brown woolen blanket. In the dooryard towards the river are fresh graves, mostly of officers, their names on pieces of barrel staves or broken board stuck in the earth." So Whitman would stay here until all the wounded were gone from Chatham, and then he would return to his brother's camp and stay there for several more days. He witnessed the burial of the dead. He witnessed the trying circumstances that soldiers faced every single day. So a week after being at Chatham, Whitman wrote to his mother. And he said, "And now that I have lived for 8 or 9 days amidst such scenes as the camps furnish, and had a practical part in it all, and realized the way that hundreds of thousands of good men are now living, and have had to live for a year or more, not only without any of the comforts, but with death and sickness and hard marching and hard fighting, and no success at that. For their continual experience, really nothing we call trouble seems worth talking about." For Whitman, his presence at the front was a transformative experience, almost religious, for it generated in him a determination to see the war concluded for the Union, with victory, and one that he would really transform his life, because he would spend the next couple of years working mostly in the hospitals in Washington. He would never again go to the front like he was here at Chatham, but he would tend to literally hundreds and hundreds of men. And for the benefit of us all, he kept written records of his impressions and feelings at every step of the way. Okay.